Alrighty, hey guys, this is Squirtly, and I am here now on a channel with a still undecided name. Obviously the name will have been decided by the time this is uploaded, but as of now it is not. Samuel just told me to go ahead and, or Leonard, went ahead and told me to record this, so that's what I'm doing. This is my new storage box. It is now for my super special decks that I actually really like a lot, and like not my main decks essentially, or just stuff that I'm having fun with at the time. I only have two things in here right now actually, and we're gonna be talking about this one today. So, yeah, this is gonna be a deck profile of a Vanguard deck. If you can't tell by the sleeves. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with the grade 3s here. I'll just set this off to the side. This is a Star-vader deck, obviously. I'm running 3 Chaos Breakers. Yeah. Arguably the most broken card in the game. Best card in the game. Best deck in the game. Nouvelle Vague gives it a run for its money, but other than that, I mean, yeah, it can lose. It's not unbeatable, but it's good. For those of you that don't know, his skill, I don't know if my camera's going to focus on this, because it's my phone. Yeah, here we go. Limit Break 4. Soul Blast a Star-vader. When one of your opponent's units unlocks, you can retire it and draw. And he can counterblast one and ditch a card to lock something once per turn. So his skills combo together like beautifully. The Star-vader limitation isn't really a problem because every card in this deck is a Star-vader. So yeah, 3 of him. You don't need 4. I don't know why people run 4. 4 is a waste of money. This guy's only like 25 right now. I got mine for like 40 to 45 before regionals. This was my regionals deck, by the way, for Atlanta Team League. Yeah. You don't need a 4th one. Once you draw into one, you really don't need the others. You just ditch them to lock. Unless you do stuff like me, which I'll get into. 4 Infinite Zero Dragon. Break Ride. Necessary. This is the card that makes Link Joker work, essentially. His skill, for those of you that don't know at this point, when you ride on him at Limit Break, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards and one of their back row rear guards, and lock them. They don't have to be in the same column. Typically, you want to, like, lock. Like, if this was their field for some reason, you want to lock. Yeah. Obviously it's good, because then you just end up retiring those units the next turn and drawing cards off of them. Or you can just do, like, Break Ride, Break Ride, Break Ride, Break Ride, and you have a lot of soul. So you can just start soul blasting, like, everything. One thing that I actually like to do with this deck, though, is ride. Then, because you don't have to be at Limit Break to lock stuff with this guy. But even if I am at Limit Break, I can ride, and just build up soul after I've used what I already have. Or a lot of times I'll even just, like, break ride, and then late game, like, last couple turns of the game, like, ride, break ride again. Once I've drawn everything that I need off of Chaos Breaker's skill to do that again. Because once you hit Chaos Breaker and start getting his skill off, you draw so much that you basically draw into everything you need for the rest of the game. You also draw into a lot of triggers, but that's shield, so that's fine. Grade 2s, we run 4 Mobius Breath Dragon. People have told me that, like, 4 is too many, but in my opinion, you can't have too many Mobius Breath. Like, if I could run more, I would. I would probably, like, run a 5th instead of a Radon. But, this guy, he has, like, no downside. Yeah, he's only 9k on rearguard, but guess what? So is, like, everything else in the game. He, when he's on Vanguard, if he attacks, so, like, for 1 turn of the game, unless you're grade locked, he's really good to get grade locked on. Don't get grade locked, though. When he attacks, if he hits, you get to lock an opponent's rearguard for free. So, he just, I mean, yeah, you either lock a front row and they don't get to attack you with that next turn, or you lock a Vanguard booster and you just no-pass them for, like, 1 card. He saves hand. Like, he doesn't kill stuff, he saves hand, which is very nice, because this deck can get a giant hand. Like, giant. Hopefully we'll get to show that off in some games later. 4 Radon. 12k attacker. Enough said. I mean, offense. Why would you not want offense? I don't run Neobium because Neobium isn't always 12. Radon is always 12. 3 colony makers. You don't need more than 3 because you might accidentally deck yourself out. This deck really doesn't deck itself out a lot. I've seen lots of Chaos Breaker players deck out. That shouldn't be happening. Like, in all honesty, that shouldn't be happening. You should win before that. But regardless, colony makers, consistency. You can, like, colony maker, counterblast 1. Her skill, I guess I should go more in depth about that first. Her skill is when she's called to rearguard, counterblast 1. If your opponent already has a locked unit, counterblast 1. Search your deck for a grade 1 or lower Star-vader, call it to rearguard. You basically have 1 target that you should ever, well, I tell you that, 2 targets that you should ever call with this. One of which being the next card I'll go over, and then I'll let you know when the other one comes around. But yeah, consistency. Like, why would you not want to counterblast 1 to call a card? That's beautiful. It's like Tartu, but way better. Like, infinitesimally better, because your opponent's pretty much always going to have a locked card. 4 Palladium. Palladium, for those of you that don't know, it's a rearguard skill, so he's on your rearguard. When one of your opponent's locked units unlocks, you counterblast 1, shove him into your soul, relock it. So, one thing that's very nice to do, say you have Infinite Zero, and you break ride. So you lock these 2. When one of them unlocks, you can Palladium, or when they unlock at the end of your opponent's turn, you Palladium, relock that one, break ride again, lock these 2, and now your opponent is triangle locked. Vanguard's not locked though, but I mean, everything they can do, all they can do is just unboosted Vanguard attack. So, that's something really nice. Or he can just keep your opponent's stuff locked. Like, I mean, you have to use less cards to guard if your opponent can't boost, or just flat out can't attack. 4 Neons, because good ride, and good early game rearguard, and 7k booster. I guess, yeah, I mean, he's basically for the same reasons as Radon. Just, why not? He's good. Once again, don't run Lanthanum, because Lanthanum's not bad. For those of you that don't know, Lanthanum and Niobium actually have some conveniently beside me, these 2 cards. They both have the same skill. When they're on rearguard, and you lock an opponent's rearguard, they gain 2,000. This guy's better than this guy, because Radon pretty much outclasses this guy, because Radon's always 12. This guy's like 9, sometimes 11, sometimes 13. The 13 doesn't really help you, though, because this deck doesn't run 8k boosters. So, yeah, unless you want to, like, swing it across ride unboosted, but that's not recommended. This guy, however, can boost. Like, he can boost for, like, 9 or 11. So this guy's not bad. I won't be mad at you if you run this guy. I will be mad at you if you run this guy. he doesn't always attack as consistently high as as consistently high powered as Neon, but he can boost to pretty much to the same capacity as Neon. So Lanthanum is a viable alternative for that spot, or even like some Neons, like just run a mix of both. 4 PGs, because PGs, they're Star-vaders. They were expensive. They used to be expensive. I don't know if they still are or not, but they're Star-vaders, so they're good. I mean, you kind of have to run PGs nowadays. That should be expected. 2 Chaos Beats. Chaos Beat is 6k. If he's boosting a Chaos Breaker, and your opponent has a locked unit, he becomes an 11k booster, so it's like 22. It's anti-MLB. It's not really anti-cross-ride, though. However, if you have him on rearguard, like that, it still works, so it's still 22. So, that's almost better than having it boosting your Vanguard, to be honest, but meh. It's just a good card. It's like how people run like 2 copies of Photon Bomber, or something like that. Or Dorothea. Except this is a little more consistent than Dorothea. Well, I take it back, because Dorothea only needs 3rd attack. But whatever. You lock stuff. Like, it's consistent. It happens. Starting Vanguard's Dusttail. I run 2 of them. That's where the 8th grade 3 slot would be. But 2 Dusttail's good. Like, worst case scenario, you draw into the second one, and you're like, 10k shield. Take my shield. Otherwise, yeah. Dusttail is... When he's on rearguard, if your opponent already has a locked unit, you can counterblast 1, put it in soul to lock another one. Doesn't have to be front or back, it can be either. So it's just a free lock of whatever you want. You can actually do some interesting stuff with this guy. I'll get into that in a minute. Triggers, we run 7 crit, 5 draws, and 4 heals. I run 5 draws because I like to deck out. No, I'm just kidding. Really, this deck, even with 5 draws, I don't deck out for the most part. I mean, like, no more often than I do with, like, Dendrain. The deck, the 5 draws really helps just consistency. Getting your infinite zeros by the time you need them. Stuff like that. It doesn't hurt at all. You don't really need the crit pressure as much, I find. People will think you have the crit pressure and they'll guard more. But this deck, in my opinion, is defensive, not offensive. So with the draws, you just compound on that already incredible defensive core with Chaos Breaker and just drawing a whole bunch. And it just makes pretty much an unbreakable wall. By late game, once you've run out of counterblasts, the deck does fall apart a little bit, but hopefully your hand's already big enough by that point that it doesn't matter. And you can just sit there guarding attacks until you win. Because I'll tell you one thing, your opponent cannot replace rear guards and guard for the whole game. That just doesn't work. So one thing you can do. This is just about the only important combo for early game that I haven't shown. This. So I mean, obviously you're gonna have a Dusttail in your field. If you've already used Dusttail this early in the game, you're doing something incredibly weird. I don't think you can get a lock before Mobius Breath. Okay, so you do this. Call that to your field. It doesn't even matter if there's something in front of it. Just call it. A lot of times you can. Whoops. A lot of times you can get like a Radon or something out there. So we'll assume you have a Radon. This actually happens fairly often to me. Swing, 14. If they didn't ride a 10k, they've got to take it pretty much. Unless you just want to trigger sack them. Lock one of their rear guards. 19. Which once again punishes them if they rode a 9k. Then, once their unit unlocks, you just go, nope. Palladium. And the next turn, once it's your turn again, after you Palladium, you just go Colony Maker, Counterblast 1. While you're at it, just grab another Palladium out of your deck with Colony Maker. I mean, obviously you'll have ridden Infinite Zero or Chaos Breaker before now, but you just do that once it's your turn again. And it really annoys people. Like, not gonna lie. So yeah, I mean, this is my deck. This was my regionals deck. We just barely made top 32 in Atlanta. We lost round like 5 to an entire mirror match. Chaos Breaker versus Chaos Breaker, Ethics versus Ethics, Vowing versus Vowing. Vowing won on our team. I lost and Ethics lost. I lost to my opponent breaking a 2-to-pass with less than 20, like four triggers and 20 odd cards, and they broke my 2-to-pass. I was mad, but hey, that's a story for a different time. He's good. That team went on to top 8. Congratulations to them, by the way. I doubt they're watching this. So that's this deck. Hopefully we'll get more up soon. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye.